Thanks for sticking around. Finally today, we're going to make churros, or as they're better known in Australia, Spanish donuts. These are one of my favourite desserts, but apparently in Spain they eat them for breakfast, dipped in chocolate and everything. I reckon they've got the idea. But today's my first time actually making them, so fingers crossed and stick with me. To make them, you're going to need 1 cup of water, 1 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of caster sugar, 3 eggs, 1/2 cup of butter, and some cinnamon. To start things off, we need to get our water in. So, nice medium to high heat. We want to bring that to the boil. To that, we're going to add our butter. To that, we're going to add our butter. Make sure you just give it a bit of a stir just to break up the butter, because we want that butter to be melted by the time the water boils. If you've ever made choux pastry for profiteroles or anything, then you'll notice this is quite a similar recipe to that, but tastier. So now that our butter's melted and our water's coming to the boil, it's time to add our flour. So once you add your flour, you need to give it a really good stir to avoid it getting lumps. So make sure you mix it through really well, and you'll see this starting to thicken up. You can turn your heat down a little bit as well, just to make sure that it doesn't burn on the bottom. And then you'll see it form like this, like magic, with a wooden spoon. So nice and quickly like this. If we keep cooking it a little bit, then it helps cook out the flour, but you don't want to go overboard, and that's good enough there. So take it off the heat. Now we just want to let this cool down for a minute, but it's a good chance to add our sugar and our cinnamon. So just a sprinkle of cinnamon in there. If you're not massive on cinnamon, you can leave it out. Some people will add it at the end through the sugar. I do it both times because I love cinnamon. So this means it's in the donut and around the donut. So giving it a stir like this helps activate the gluten, but it also helps aerate it and cool it down a bit as well. So now that I've given this a couple of minutes just to cool down, it's time to add my eggs. You don't want to add your eggs when it's too hot, otherwise it'll start to cook them, and we don't want them to cook yet. So we just add these one at a time. That way we can make sure they get properly incorporated, and also we can get a bit more air in it that way and make them a bit more light and fluffy. So just whipping that through with your spoon. You can see that that's starting to come together now. And once that egg's completely incorporated, next one. Same thing again, next egg. You can see it's starting to get a bit of a sheen to it now as well. And sometimes, depending on the flour, you may need to add 4 eggs, but it's a pretty standard recipe to add 3 with this. If you're making a larger batch, then sometimes the flour can affect the recipe more because it may absorb more or less egg. But when you're just making a small batch like this, it's a pretty standard recipe. So now that I've got that last egg in, you can see it's nice and smooth, and you can see it's a little bit sticky as well, and that's what we want. So it's time to get it into our churros maker, common name, piping bag. There's some pretty fancy inventions out there for making things like this, but the old simple piping bag does the trick. So in our mix goes. Make sure you get it all in the first time, otherwise it starts getting messy. And always when you're using a piping bag, it's best to fold the lip over like this, and it means that you're going to get a nice clean end on it. So all our mix goes in. Shake it down a bit. Now you want to pull the end nice and tight like this. Ready? I can see them about to come out. This is exciting. So now that you've got your mix in your bag, you need to grab a knife. That's your other weapon. And your oil's hot. It's ready to go. So just squeeze them out and then cut them off. Don't overfill your pan. You want to make sure that there's plenty of room in there. And then after a couple of minutes, they should start coming out looking like perfect little churroses. Put them on some paper to drain, and let's keep this cycle going because I'm sure you're going to need plenty of these to keep people happy. And then just straight into your cinnamon sugar and then straight onto your plate. Make sure you get plenty on there. So there we go. Beautiful churros. That easy. And what a way to finish. Some beautiful churros made in your very own house. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. If you've missed anything, all the videos and the recipes are available on the website. Make sure you become a fan on Facebook for all the latest and greatest information. But I hope you guys enjoy your fiesta, and adios amigos.